What is up, guys? This is the Adventuruss podcast. I'm real excited for this one. We got BMAC here, our good friend Subparlover, Twitch streamer, and obviously I'm Kyle. We've been trying to get this together for a while. There's not a whole lot of sports going on in that, so what's more entertaining than watching other people play video games and doing it well, and being really entertaining while doing it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
Of course.
For those of you that don't know, most of us, I mean, Brian and I have talked about it. We met playing Destiny, looking for just people to play with, and we met the same way, the three of us. So,
yeah,
it's just kind of crazy. We talk about like how weird it is as far as like our generation with video games has kind of made it into this thing where it's like a business almost. Like if without our generation, you know, to go from like SNES to PC, Twitch, and all that, like I don't think that it works without that. You know, it's weird. I mean,
I didn't know that's how you guys met as well. I knew that's how I met you like years and years ago, but I didn't know it's how you guys met.
I think we met we might have met like a week before we met.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like that soon.
Around the same time.
I think that we got into a group, and then the following week we went to go raid again. And then we had looked you and your brother up, or we had looked it up, you know, LFG, and then you and your brother had joined, and then we just, ever since then, ever since
crazy.
Destiny, anyways.
Yeah, and
you two got along really well. Like I remember thinking that you were like old friends.
No,
that's what video games can do. They can bring people like you were an old married couple when I first met you. You'd only known each other for a week.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird how all that works, man. So, I guess, when like back then, I mean, obviously we weren't doing this, and you weren't doing what you're doing on Twitch, which is great, by the way.
Yeah, I love sub trains. Those are amazing.
All of your little stuff, man, is so good.
I watched them the other day, and it was amazing.
I love that. Thank you.
So, I mean, we talked a little bit about it before we started, but. Like back then, did you ever think that you'd be doing this as a hobby now?
No, not in a million years.
I know it. I mean,
like you've played Destiny with me, you know that like you need the biggest backpack in the world to carry me in anything in Destiny. So I didn't think that I'd be doing it live in front of people. Could you imagine?
I mean,
people would have loved it. I mean, we had fun.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a lot of fun. I think we said some things that you're not allowed to say in 2020, but that was 5 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah, we were younger. we were dumb.
Yeah, man, that game. I don't know. That's kind of what we talk about too. We've talked about Destiny a little bit, and you were saying, you know, is it good again? Is it still dead? We've talked about like nowadays with the way the internet is and the way Twitter and everything kind of works is like. If it was the way it was back then, does Destiny work? Because every game kind of had its problems, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But people just murder games like, you know, like that. To like if they'll find one little thing, and just pick it apart and destroy the game to a ridiculous degree. And Fortnite is just so simple, and I think that's why it's been so, at the top for so long. Just because there's not a whole lot to pick apart. Just because there's nothing really to it. But you talk about like Destiny, Call of Duty. I mean, there's just so many like that just don't get any traction because people just shit on them endlessly.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact like Fortnite's player group is definitively younger. It might not be as much now, but when it first came out, it skewed much younger, and I think people have a tendency to be less cynical and shitty when they're 7, you know what I mean?
That's fair.
they haven't lived life and hated things yet. They don't know how to hate. But
yes.
I also think the fact that it's free. I think if people invest their money, it doesn't matter if it's $5 or $20. They kind of feel like if it doesn't go exactly the way that they want it to, they have the right to go, well, this is shit. I want it to be like this. Whereas, I mean, how much can you complain about a free game? Fortnite's not perfect, but I mean, it's definitely stuff. It's got stuff you can do with it. There's things that could be changed in it. But you're right. Things don't get much of a chance to survive on the internet. They're either brilliant from the get-go, or they're a piece of shit. There's not much of a grey area in the middle, is there?
I was gonna say, for me, you were saying when it started the social media, I think I saw it early on in Destiny when you guys remember forums on the Destiny app.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever went through and read those, man, some people on there are just toxic, and it just, you know, with
you just don't value your own life.
Yeah, I mean, they would just be on there endlessly complaining about whatever it was. You know?
this needs a nerf, that needs a nerf. If you're using this, you should be banned. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is the worst.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think that's kind of where it started too, like the direct line to the developers of the game. Like, do you see that, Sub, like with your Twitch? Because you all notice a lot of times you have 2K or whatever in your like Twitter. Do you see that in your tweets sometimes too? The hate for it, or?
Oh yeah, like I think, and I try and be as constructive as I can because I do have a great working relationship with Gearbox and 2K in everything that I've done with Borderlands. So I try and be constructive, but I'm never going to be someone that sits there and just says this is the best game of all time and you all need to go and buy it and you all need to go and play it. Like nothing's perfect, and things especially like with Borderlands and Destiny, things get balanced. There's always stuff going on. Things need to be leveled up, buffed, nerfed. It's all a part of the process to make sure that a game has longevity. But yeah, absolutely. There's people always complaining, mate. Like people always complain, I think, but unfortunately not everybody knows to do it constructively.
Yeah.
No, yeah, but I played Fortnite for a while, and I think one of the things, like, kind of just going off of that is they kind of work in that gray area where they call themselves a beta, so they can kind of work patches in super fast compared to like the big like AAA platforms with like, you know, Destiny or Call of Duty, where it takes how long for Destiny back in the day? It was like months and months.
Yeah, I mean, it did take a very, very, very long time for things in Destiny to be addressed. I genuinely don't know if it's a difference between developer or just in terms of time since we've played Destiny, but I've noticed that if something is fundamentally broken in Borderlands 3, which, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but there have been things that, say for example, there was a grenade that initially when the game first came out was just ridiculously overpowered, like game-bustingly bad. And I think they fixed that in no time. So the response time is very, very quick now. But yeah, it used to take forever. Destiny, and that's where some of the frustration grows when people don't feel like they're being listened to.
Right.
From the experience that I've been extraordinarily lucky to have in terms of working directly with developers, is they listen. They are, and Bungie to their credit said it forever too. Like, we hear you, we're listening, but a lot of people don't understand, and I mean, I absolutely don't, how much time goes into developing and like the tiniest little change, especially on that old Destiny 1 engine. Like, I remember hearing once that they were saying, like, if they wanted to move like a tree in Destiny, they would need to completely like re-render a whole, like, I don't know the technicalities of it, but it would take hours and hours and hours to make one little thing, and people were like, hey, make this gun better today.
Right. Yeah.
I have no idea how long that will but yeah, sure, Tim, I'm on it. Tim 20 Sniper XO no scope on the fucking floor. Calm down.
Or even at that, man, I mean, I know, like, even in like Destiny 2, because we played a good bit of that also, Brian and I did, and when a lot of the people would complain, like, you didn't even add anything to the game, this was already just sitting here, like, all you did was open a door. So I mean, that kind of just goes off of that, like, sure, like, why not? I mean, you can go into the door now, so what else do you need?
I mean, do these people think that there was always all of these activities behind the door and it was just locked?
Right.
Like, yes, the door was in existence, but shit wasn't behind it. We had to code that.
Yeah.
Like, just doors being in the tower the entire time. It's like if I put up a door, like, outside of my house. I put a temporary door outside, but there was nothing behind it but just rubble. Yeah. And then over 12 years, I built this massive mansion, and people were like, why the fuck didn't you open this door 12 years ago? We could have been in the mansion.
You've been holding out on this like this?
That man.
Yeah.
The door's been here the whole time, but the mansion hasn't, you idiots.
You paid $30 just to come inside? Like what?
Yeah, just appreciate that you can even see the door.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So what started with like what made you want to start streaming Borderlands?
You know what, Borderlands. I would love to say that Borderlands was like I was drawn to it because it's it's just this fantastic, incredible game, and it is. But to be honest, shitty Australian internet. I wanted to be a Destiny streamer. I was playing Destiny with you guys, and I was 100% going to be a Destiny streamer. And then I fired up looked up all of the stuff that I needed to record on and set everything up, and pushed. I think Kyle was there for literally my first stream. I'm pretty sure, and it was I think I dropped something like 48% frames. And I'm like, that's not too bad. That's under half.
It's manageable, but...
But I've since learnt that dropping like 0.5 of a frame makes your stream unwatchable. So I'm sorry to the 3 people that ever stumbled in my stream once upon a time. But yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible Australian internet, and Borderlands it wasn't an online playable game. Like, I mean, it was a solo experience for the most part, and it took a lot less bandwidth. So it was the great choice. And I mean, there is crossover in terms of, I love loot. I love shooting bosses over and over again. I love you guys are probably the same to an extent. I've got the addictive personality where like one more run, because then I might get that gun.
Yeah.
And if I get it, god damn, it's going to feel good when it drops. And Borderlands had that. So, I mean, it was a little bit of that. It was a little bit of the genre that I love, but I've got to give thanks to shitty potato Australian internet because that was the big factor back in the day.
I mean, so far so good, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's different now. Like the internet that I've got now is significantly better. So, yeah, finally it came eventually, but it took forever.
Nice, that's good. I didn't know that. I just figured you were a big Borderlands fan.
Well, I mean,
I'd never played it before prior to streaming it.
I mean, that's kind of
insane.
It translates a little bit, like you said, the shoot to loot kind of thing.
Yeah.
RNG, you can get cooler guns as you kind of do what does it have, like a New Game Plus kind of thing, right? Like once you've beaten it, you can go back through on like a harder difficulty.
In Borderlands 2, when I originally started playing it, it went. There was actually a fair bit of density to it. It would go normal. It was like normal mode, TVHM, which was True Vault Hunter mode, UVHM, which was Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, and then after that you went and did the OP, the overpowered levels, which was basically just from 0 to 10 it ended up being. And it was, there was a lot of replayability. But at the end of the day, it was just about, I've got this awesome Kyle's rifle, and it's at level 10, and now I need it at level 12.
Right.
Now level 12. Oh, it's at level 15. I better get it at level 15.
Exactly. It's really addicting.
Yeah, that's why, like, I mean, Destiny I once heard described as the hardcore gamer's slot machine, and I think Borderlands is similar in a way.
Yeah, except it's brighter and probably, you get that initial little more payoff because you see it, all this stuff come out.
Yeah, the loot explosion everywhere.
Yeah. You don't get that in Destiny. It's just a little bloop, little engram falls over.
Engram that rolls down the hill. And then you gotta
chase
though,
it.
you know where they get you with the sounds. I remember they used to do it with certain exotic engram used to unlock. It used to have that like boom kind of like noise.
Yeah, man.
When it dropped at the end game screen, it was a significantly different. I don't know. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Even at that, man, it still feels different. Like we've been playing, like I said, D2 a little bit more recently. But it's not. It's weird, man, because like we used to go through Vault of Glass and Crota and things like that, and we would get the exotic, and we'd have that like, or whatever it is up in the corner, and you would hear the person who got it, like they'd be freaking out, like, Crota's End or whatever the Mythoclast, Gallahorn, whatever it is, but now you get an exotic, it's just like kind of like, all right, cool, I got an exotic, so I don't know what they changed, it just doesn't seem like. I don't know. They did something wrong here with D2. We can go on and on about it, but go ahead.
Like some of the exotics felt like legendaries in D1. Like that's what they would be. They would be a really good legendary. Whereas in D1, the exotics felt exotic.
Right.
Like you you had to have an exotic equipped at all times because there were so many good ones. In D2, there are times there's been metas where it's like, oh, I don't even have an exotic weapon because why? What's the point?
Right.
I don't need it.
So they've been poorly designed or not as special, I suppose, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I like the catalyst. When they introduced the catalyst, that was a really good idea, and it helps a lot of them. There's some guns that are just made better with the catalyst.
Like the Red Death.
Yes.
The Red Death. Do you have the Red Death? That was a meme. That was a meme between us for ages, us three.
Oh, I know.
Have you tried the Red Death? Yes,
Death?
Aaron, I've tried it. It's good.
The Galahorn was another one.
Excuse me. How do I find the Galahorn?
So good.
Well, see, what you need to do is you need to go to this place, this particular cave, and spend 600 hours of your life here.
Yeah.
And then eventually, one day, you'll just randomly get it at the end of a strike. Good luck.
I don't know if you were with us the one day. I'd never gotten Galahorn, and then the one day we did the run where you just go through Vaulted Glass and run down to the cave and get the exotic chest or whatever. I think I got 2 into Hawkmoon that day. And then
dude, you did. I didn't have one yet. I didn't have either Hawkmoon or Galahorn, and I was so mad.
I felt so bad deleting it too because I just got 1. So I mean now I have 2.
No,
and there's no transfer. You can't transfer stuff to other players, can you?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I mean back then you didn't even get it.
Feel bad about it.
Back then you didn't even get
the whole
anything
time
for
you
it.
Deleted it.
Yeah, back then you didn't get anything for it either, like a material or nothing. It was just gone.
You laughed when you deleted it because I didn't have it.
It was like a Die
Don't
for
lie.
Evil laugh. I'm not gonna lie.
You vindictive bitch.
So I kind of just thought of that before we started. You said you need to grab a coffee. Do you have any pre-stream rituals that you like? If you don't do it, you don't feel like you're really in the groove quite yet.
No.
You just sit down and go.
That's not an exciting answer. My pre-stream ritual is, you know what? I suppose it's like, because what happens is, because I work full time, I don't do, well, I mean, I did before the world went to shit.
Before the Red Death.
Yeah, we all got the Red Death. I would come home from work and stream. So I like work full time, and it's literally run in the door, have a shower, and make sure that the house isn't on fire or anything like that, and then just start up the stream. So I don't have time to be fussy about anything like that. I wish I did. I wish I needed to do like 45 minutes of cardio and eat some carrots and
have a bit of avocado toast.
Have a cleanse or whatever it is people do. But no, I push the button and hope that I'm there on time.
Be a bit of a diva. I know I see some of the bigger streamers that are like, gotta go get my morning walk in with the dog and sit on the beach for a few hours before a stream, and I'm like, dude, eat shit.
Yeah.
I think anyone would do that if they could.
I'm sure they're lovely people. But
yeah, sure. I mean, if any of us could do it.
If I was home, if I was like not working full time and I streamed full time, there is no way I'd go to the beach for 3 hours a day. Those dogs can walk themselves.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sleep.
I've been waiting for this forever.
Yeah, this is the dream. You think I'm gonna voluntarily go outside now? No. I'm gonna sit at home and watch Netflix like an idiot.
Yeah, that's another.
With my life.
I know a lot of people were saying have been freaking out. You know, like the people you were saying going to the beach in Australia and things like that. I'm like, nothing's really changed for me. I mean, I was doing this before, so.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of streamers and content creators on Twitter, and they're all like, yeah, people starting to freak out about having to isolate in their homes, and they're just like, we've been doing this for years.
Yeah, before it was cool.
Yeah, before it was cool, we've been stockpiling food, getting everything delivered, having Uber Eats every night, and just like making friends exclusively on the internet for 7 years.
Yeah.
Ahead of the curve.
That kind of takes me into my next little question I had for you too was, you know, we obviously used to sit and chat for hours and hours and just, you know, shoot things. How is that different, I would say, than, you know, how you're doing it now with like your chat and everything like that and your community that you've built?
It's different because I think there's good dynamics with the chat, and the chat's always like, I think every streamer's got their whole, how do I say this? Like you and me and Brian, we have some banter, and there's that with the chat, and they kind of give you shit all the time. Like there's that relationship where you're always getting shit from chat, but you know that they're there to support you, which is great. But yeah, it's definitely a different dynamic, because what you need to factor in, or at least I think you need to factor in, is you're talking to people who are live in the chat and want to be like, hey, how you doing? How was your day? What's going on? And that's kind of what they want to talk about. And then you've got your hardcore players who are like, you need to go over there and check that chest because this has got a 0.4% higher drop rate, and they want to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've also got like people who, and this is happening more and more now, people, and this is how I watch Twitch when I do have time, is they've just got it on like the radio. They don't know what you're doing because they're probably in the kitchen or they're, you know, doing whatever at their desk. So you've also got to find the balance of going, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to head over here because today the plan is I want to get a brand new SMG for this, and they need to hear that because they're not physically sitting and watching.
Right. Like
so it's kind of like you've got 3 or 4 different types of friends that you're dealing with at the same time all at once. So it's weird in that regard. It's definitely not, like, I love it, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it, but I'm confident in saying that it's nowhere near as relaxing as sitting with you two and talking shit.
Yeah. It's kind of like being a bartender, right? Like being a bartender versus going out and getting a drink with your guys.
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. And I mean, we could sit there for hours and literally just have me say Brian, because I think that's, you know, or we'd like, I mean, that's funny. And we sit there and, like we touched on before, the Red Death.
Yeah.
And we would laugh about that for hours. You do that more than 3 times on Twitch and chat goes, move on.
Yeah.
I'm no longer entertained. Say something different.
Or you even just had one I was watching you a little bit ago where you said the book club's over or something like that. And I'm laughing my ass off. And the one guy's like, yeah, that's a miss for me, man. And I'm like, we could have talked about that for days. Like,
yeah. The book club. That was fun. Yeah, I had fun. There's always people in chat. Bless them. They're never long-term members of your community. They're always like blow-ins who've just found the directory that day and they were like, that's not funny.
Yeah.
Or they go, why are you doing that? And then thankfully, and I mean, I've touched wood. There's a lot of people that do it as well, have fostered a relatively positive, quite a positive community. There's a lot of people who, in other games, more competitive games, have a bit more toxic of a community.
Mm-hmm.
So in the nicest possible way, my regular chat will be like, go away.
Yeah.
They'll be like, shut up and just let him do what he wants. They won't go too hard, but stern enough to be all like, you need to go away now, please.
I mean, even in the same breath, man, like the weeds obviously are the weeds, but the community you've built is really good. Like, I've sat around for a few streams, and it seems like, you know, by and large, everybody's really supportive. So kudos to them for being them, and
absolutely
to you for, you know, giving those people a place to come and just hang out, like you said, and kind of maybe listen to the radio or interact and see, you know, what's on the other side of the hill if they're a little further behind you in the game and things like that. So
yeah, well, we spoke about it before we started recording about like why I got started or how I got started. Because we weren't recording it, I'll repeat myself, but we were just I was at the stage in life, like when you do get more bills and you do get more responsibilities being an adult. Like I used to do a lot of I don't talk about it a lot, but I used to do a lot of performing arts and stuff when I was younger. So I had a real creative outlet. Right. And as you get boring and old, you don't have that. And I started to get a little bit anxious in life and started to, you know, things used to be a little bit more, you'd get to the end of the 9-to-5 day, kind of drudge home, have a shower and go, ugh, what now until tomorrow starts? Yeah. I found myself, I actually never watched Twitch. I've still, like, I watch it occasionally to support people I know, but I never watched it. I was big into YouTube. Like I would come home, watch YouTube and then go, holy shit, like I've been watching this stuff for 2.5 hours. Yeah. You switch your mind off a bit, you forget the 9-to-5, and you've had a pocket of like 90 minutes where everything has been like, ignorance is bliss in that 90 minutes. Yeah. And part of me starting Twitch was because I wanted to scratch my own creative itch, but also I thought if I can provide content that will be someone else's pocket of 90 minutes of like watching me be a fool and talk about book clubs over and do all these little in jokes that we've got in the stream. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. So it's a great community of people, and I like to think it's a community of people that even like, I mean, I put out a Twitter video recently about everything. Coronavirus is devastating the world right now. Hopefully when you're listening to this,
it's not.
Hopefully when you're discovering this and it's got 900 million views, and you're listening to all of the backlog of episodes because you cannot get enough of this. Coronavirus, maybe go and look it up because it was a thing in 2020. We don't, I made the conscious decision that we don't talk about it on stream purely because it's not an enormous, huge world event. It's in that little pocketed world of Twitch. Some people like to come home who have lost their jobs, who have sick family members, who are sick themselves, and not think about that for a minute. So that is arguably the biggest thing that I love about Twitch is that kind of escapism, you know?
I definitely
100%. Yeah, that's what I've really enjoyed about doing the podcast. It feels the same way. It's the outlet for me and Kyle always said that we wanted to do something like this because this is generally what we talk about when we're in a chat party, and we do it for hours. So why not just go for it? And then it just feels like I go to work and I come home and I'm more geeked and more excited and have more energy coming home tonight than I did all day at work. And it's like, I'd much rather be here. Like, and I feel that. Yeah.
And you guys have found already, like, I mean, you said to me earlier on that you've only done, I think, 10 episodes. You're up to, this might be 11, I don't know. But you would already be seeing people who are like, hey, good work. Mm-hmm. Love that. And and that's the foundations of what will be an awesome community. And that's what I joke, but like I hope to look back very soon and go, remember when you had little old Subparlover on your podcast? Remember me? Please return my email, Carl, for God's sake.
Always and forever.
Now you're Mr. Big and Famous.
No, don't worry about it. Always and forever.
That would be amazing. And I mean, it started now, and you will start to find that people, in the same way that they come and watch my Twitch stream, people will come home, download your podcast. Maybe they'll listen to it on the way to work, a job they don't want to go to, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's their escape. So you guys are doing just as much as anyone in terms of putting out content and building something that is a passion of yours, and hopefully that's going to resonate with a group of people to start with that'll then snowball, and then all of a sudden you'll be signing things at Comic-Con.
Just to kind of go on what you said a minute ago, as far as you'd watch Twitch more than, or you watch YouTube more than Twitch before you really got started. For me personally, I think that, I mean, that's obviously YouTube. You just type in whatever you want to watch, you know, and it's there. But Twitch, to me, I watch Twitch a lot, and what makes Twitch different and I mean, just a little more satisfying is like, kind of like coming home from school and having cartoons on, if you know what I mean, where you come home and you know, Subparlover is going to be on at 6 o'clock. So I'm gonna get my things done, and I can sit down and tune in. Where it's kind of like a TV show back in the day, where there's no just recording, or it means more to be there because you can interact with chat or whatever it is. That's personally why I like Twitch. I mean, I watch the hell out of Twitch. I mean, I tell Brian that all the time, but for me, that's why I think the lurkers and things like that it's just another reason.
Yeah. So it's the same in a way. Like, you guys are massive sports people. Like, if you watch a Game of Sport live, and maybe you're texting your friends and stuff like that while it's on, if you have to work that day, record the game, and then come home, you still want to watch it. But if you know in the back of your mind it's over already, the result's already done, it's still entertaining, but it loses that spark a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so a lot of people do gravitate towards Twitch because it's got that live element of talking with people, and you're 100% right, Kyle. It's 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. You know that you can tune in, and that's where I'm going to be at this location, which is the equivalent of like a regular TV station.
Yeah.
And then you couple that with exactly what you touched on before as well, in terms of people know that's where their friends are going to be. I mean, let's call a spade. We live in 2020. People, look how I met you two idiots.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. Exactly.
That's how stuff. Their friends are there, and their entertainment's all in the one place. So it's the equivalent of sitting there and chatting to your friends while you're watching a show.
Yeah, and I think, we had touched on it in an earlier episode. It's also a way for, like, if you don't have the time, like, everyone has a game catalog that they just haven't been able to play. And it's, if you don't have time to play that game, you can watch someone you enjoy watching play it, and you kind of get that experience of what's happening in the game. I mean, it's fun. I don't know much about Borderlands, but when I do watch a stream, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. Like, I mean, it's
and that's as far as like people that are always working or have other things going on, that they just don't have time to, to play the games themselves, but they still have the passion for it.
Well, it was the natural evolution, I think, of Let's Plays on YouTube. Like, Let's Plays 10 years ago were enormous for the exact same reason. Okay, I hate horror. I hate horror games. I'm petrified. I went on a date when I was younger in my teenage years with a girl, and she wanted to go and see Blair Witch Project, and I watched it, and people out there are like, how old is this motherfucker? Like, it was Blair Witch. Don't worry about it. I was at the movies, and I was like looking at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen the whole time, because I know jump scares are coming. I hate that shit. But I will watch PewDiePie back in the day play through an entire. I think he played Amnesia, was the game that it was, and I would watch that because that's not as freaky, and PewDiePie is playing it. So I get to experience that game that there's no way in the world I would ever play.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I've watched it. That was good fun. And I think the natural evolution of once live streaming became such a prevalent thing in our lives, that was always going to be it. Instead of watching 25-minute, 30-minute videos, we would go, okay, this stream is live. Let's go and watch them play it now and talk to them about the experience that they're having.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I watch Twitch a lot, so I definitely feel it. And it's kind of.
So why do you watch Twitch then? That's like, let me swing it on you for a minute. Why do you watch Twitch?
A lot of it's the same kind of thing. Like, I mean, obviously there's no sports right now. I prefer. There's not a lot of shows that I like. I think a lot of shows are kind of lame. Brian will tell anyone, and he said it before in our last podcast, and I can be a bit of a movie snob. So
yeah.
So I'm real picky when it comes to movies and things like that. And I don't know, I just like games, and it's the same kind of thing you said. It's like not totally immersion, but it's immersion enough where I remember when the new God of War came out, I turned on, I think it might have been Kokarna, I can't remember, but he was playing it.
Yeah.
He was playing it, and I hopped in his stream, and I started watching it, and I'm like, I'm already 4 hours into this game. I'm not going to go buy it now. When I started to watch it to see, like, man, is it good? Or is it just like another re-release, like another sequel to try and make some quick money? But yeah, it's like you said, it's like not totally immersion, but you're immersed. So like, if you're creeping around the corner in Resident Evil or something, it doesn't hit you or hurt you the same way that it would if, lights are all off, headsets on, your nose is to the screen kind of thing.
And no one can hear you scream.
Yeah,
except
exactly.
for if you're the streamer.
Yeah.
If you're a viewer, you can scream and cry. No one's going to know. It's fine.
Right. And you could even type whatever in chat, like, not that bad. Where, you're sitting at home, like, holding your chest and you're not even the one playing.
Yeah. And you just type, we're not even scared, guys, in the chat, and people will think you're hard, but you're not. People will think you're big and tough. Sub does. He said he's not even scared.
All right,
he's using the thumbs up emoji. That guy's just got ice in his veins. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here drenched in my own urine.
And that guy's probably doing the same thing.
Crying and praying to a god that I'm not even sure is real.
Just anyone that'll listen at that point, yeah.
Please let me survive this playthrough. PewDiePie's handling it okay, but I'm very scared.
Did you guys ever try the PT demo?
I've watched playthroughs, but I never really I was a little late on it. But yeah, that shit was nuts.
It was
So
supposed to be the
anything
new.
with horror, I'll avoid it like the plague.
It was supposed to be like the new Resident Evil, but they never got it off. And I remember I downloaded it because it was free, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try it.
Well, that's
I
what
had
it
no
stands
clue
for.
what it was about.
That's what the PT
Huh?
stands for. The
What?
PT is playtest. It was just a, it was like a demo, but the demo was scary as hell.
Oh my god!
And it was
Dude,
for
I
like a
played
horror
it.
game that just never got released.
I played it, and oh my! I got a couple minutes in, and I was like, oh my god! Like I screamed. I'm like, nope, can't do it. Made my roommate at the time play it. He's like, it can't be that bad. He's like, oh, he's like, yo, you need to delete that. That's creepy.
What was the last proper horror game you played?
I got up to. So I got up to. When I used to work at an EB Games, which I think is like GameStop over there,
Dude, I
same
forgot,
franchise.
I forgot
Yeah,
about EB Games. I haven't
Yeah.
seen EB Games in years.
Well, there's not many left here, let me tell you that. But I used to work there, so I used to get games, at the staff, good old staff discount, and I bought Fear 3, and I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is the day I become a man. I can actually handle this now. I own a PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
So I came home, and I put it in, and I can't tell you for love or money what the actual premise is, but I know it's like a Ring-style creepy chick. So first 5 minutes in, I was climbing up, you're running through this massive shipping yard, run towards a big shipping container with a ladder down the side of it, and I started to climb slowly up the ladder and deliberately made you climb slowly, and as you're like through point of view, so you can only see the ladder, as you get up to the top, there's this fucking terrifying, like, bam, right in your face. I put the controller down, ejected the disc, and drove back to work, put it at the desk, and I'm like, give me my fucking money back. I am done.
What was wrong with it?
That was
I don't know.
And that would have easily been 12 years ago. I don't know, and I've never touched one since.
I think the last one for me was probably, I was at my buddy's house, and that's kind of when Five Nights at Freddy's was brand new.
Yeah.
And he was like just doing this and that. And I'm like, man, it can't be that damn hard. All you gotta do is ration out your stuff, check the cameras, whatever. So I think it's 7 nights you're supposed to do, and I'm cruising through it. I'm talking like no problems. I didn't lose a single life. I think I go through 4 or 5 nights. And then that's the trick though. Like they get you in there. They get you feeling real comfortable. Like you're winning. And then I broke his computer chair because I jumped so hard. Like I flew back and the spring busted and I fell right on my ass. So yeah, that was probably the last one for me. After that,
they lull you into a false sense of security.
Yeah, for sure, man. And yeah, just big note.
No, the last one I did was just that PT test, and that one doesn't even lull you in. That one just throws you right into it, and you're just like, I don't feel good about this. Like you're regretting it when it starts.
Yeah, you said PT stands for playtest, but it actually stands for PTSD, which is what you end up with once you've had a go at it. It's shortened for PTSD because no one's ever the same.
That's true, man. I mean, I watched a playthrough of it, and it was gnarly, man. It was weird as hell.
Yeah, it was. Oh.
Yeah, there's not enough money in the like chat constantly want me to play a horror game, but I'm quietly confident that it's going to be a cold day in hell before that happens.
So what about Doom? You were going to play that, right?
Yeah, I played Doom Eternal day one. Pardon me. Whenever a new game comes out, I'm always like happy to try it if it falls within like that. Doom's not a looter shooter, but it's definitely an FPS game, which is kind of my wheelhouse. And complete disclosure, was fortunate enough from Bethesda to get a code, so that's why I'm like, okay, well it's here. I'm going to give it a shot. And it's a good game. It genuinely is a really, really good experience, and I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it's got enough of that addictive loot element to keep me coming back to it. And
right.
Also, there's just been a brand new DLC released for Borderlands 3, so I was always going to come back for the thing. I might revisit Doom, but I didn't really. I don't know. That didn't feel jump scary or anything. It's the jump scares, 100%. Like I can play a horror like themed game that's got like some creepy elements to it, but if shit's jumping out at me, yeah, not a fan.
Or not even that, like the
Okay.
ones where you aren't given anything. Like Doom, you get big bastard guns, you know? If you're
Yeah.
like in the ones where you gotta like sneak around and like peek around corners and things like that, that's all the nope
Oh.
for me. That's just too much.
No.
If I can't defend myself, then why am I even trying? Like, I don't care about this story enough to, like, mentally break me.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
one that I came closest to describing it, it definitely wasn't a horror game. It had more of a thriller element to it. And it's funny because I hate these games, but it was one of my favorite games of all time was Alan Wake.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Alan Wake, if you haven't played it, I think it's genuinely I think it's been remastered, and it's about $4 on Steam, and it's just such a great game. Have either of you played it?
I have
No.
not.
Yeah, spend the $4 even in hard times right now. It's money well spent. It's a fantastic game, and it was always going to have this has been a brilliant game. It's actually set up in a way where it's done in chapters. I think it's 5 or 6 chapters, and it's set out like a TV show. So you would finish the one chapter, which would be about an hour of playtime, and then you either had the choice, like, okay, this is a natural stopping point, or I'd start up the next chapter, and then it's like previously on Alan Wake, and it would give you the summary, the narrative so far. It was absolutely brilliant.
That sounds really
Can't
cool.
recommend. Yeah, really good.
So you talked about a little bit with the, coming home and just rinsing off real quick and getting to the, sitting down and getting to it. Is there anything that's discouraging about your stream, or is it just all still just fun? Is it just like kind of an escape for you still?
Okay, so what a lot of people probably won't tell you, some will, some people are open and honest about this, but one of the things I hate the most, hate's a strong word, but I definitely hate it, is forced positivity. Like, like that whole, everything's gonna be fine while the whole book's on fire. Sometimes it's okay to acknowledge that some things are shit. I would actually say it's probably healthy to, especially when it comes to depression, anxiety, just putting a wall up and going, that doesn't exist, is just the definition of ignorant, and it's not going to help at all.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to, oh my God, I love coming home and streaming every day.
Yeah.
It is the highlight of my life, because some days you don't want to. You just straight up don't want to. You don't want to start because maybe you had a lower viewership than you did the day before, and viewers are just the worst thing in terms of the raw stat, the worst thing you can focus on. And even if you try not to, eventually it's going to creep back into your brain.
Yeah.
That maybe you've just had a shitty day at work in real life and you're exhausted, but like there's no deterrent in terms of I come home and go, oh God, I don't want to deal with this today. So in that regard, there's nothing like that. But for people who come home and blatantly say, or come on this podcast or wherever and say, I love streaming. Every single day is like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
It's some days it's just like real life. Some days you just don't want to fucking do it.
Yeah.
But I will say this in that same breath, I would say easily 9 times out of 10 on those days when things are not going brilliantly, you force yourself. I mean, you don't have to. Like I've taken many a day where I'm like, you know what, chat? And if you build a good enough community, they'll be fine with this. You know what, chat? Not today.
Right.
I'm staying at home mentally.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that because
say 9 times out of 10. Sorry, 9 times out of 10 when you do force yourself, so to speak, to hit the start streaming button, within half an hour you're like, that's why I do this, because you're surrounded by people who genuinely become a part of your community, and you're like, that's right, this is fucking fun. When I forget about I'm down 4% of viewers from yesterday, or whatever the stats that are forced down your throat, you go, this is actually a really fun time. And when you can return your brain back to that state and go, this is why I clicked to start streaming the very first time, I think there's no reason why you wouldn't enjoy it.
I can say the same for us. I think, it might have been like our 4th or 5th podcast we did, and it was kind of like the lull of the NBA season, and they had just, they hadn't, decided to cancel anything. There wasn't really anything going on with baseball because it hadn't started yet. And we were kind of messaging back and forth, and we were like, what are we going to talk about, man? Like, do we even do it? Like, I'm like, man, let's just turn it on and figure out where it goes. Like, we're still kind of, we're definitely still pretty young. So
Yeah.
let's just, go on there and just see what happens. And I think that one ended up being one of our longer podcasts because we were just doing this. We were just talking movies and different scenarios and, what if this guy went here? What if, Vin Diesel beat this guy up or whatever it is? Just real silly junk.
Yeah. Once the ball starts rolling and you're in the zone and remind yourself why you're doing it in the first place, it does make it significantly easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. And to say, like, kind of just following up with that, I know, like we were talking about before we started, this has kind of turned into its own thing, and where, we don't know where it's going, but we're just, if you would have told me, in December, we're going to be doing interviews with streamers, and we got another one with another podcaster next week, and I would have been like, I have a website, I have a podcast, like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you talking about? So for you, when you're stream, do you let it be like a little more organic and kind of just let it turn into its own kind of monster like we're doing? Or do you kind of set goals and milestones for yourself?
I did originally. When I first started, I set milestones, and it kind of ties back into what I said before about the viewer numbers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Twitch. I love that Twitch has given me a platform to do what I do, and I appreciate it greatly. But in a lot of ways, Twitch is the absolute worst when it comes to discoverability for streamers. So if you look at something on YouTube and you type in Borderlands 3 on YouTube, they have such a ridiculous algorithm that goes into suggesting to you content that would be relevant to you. And then you watch a video, and then on the side, there's going to be recommended videos by other people who make similar content.
Yeah.
You're going to have an autoplay video at the end that's going to roll you into another content creator you might enjoy. Twitch is like an old school Google search result. If you go, and I mean, Kyle, you watch it, and Brian, you're the same. If you go and click on the League of Legends directory, for example, Fortnite, whatever, you're going to click on probably the first 5 streamers, and that's it.
Yeah, because that's all they show anyways.
No one's ever going to search anything on YouTube, on Google, and then scroll to page 72 to find the result.
Yeah.
You're going to pick one of the first 3 results, and that is it. So,
and I know they've started doing it a little bit, but they've started doing it a little bit with, smaller streamers, check this guy out, but it's still, like you said, it's not really enough. It's like one guy here or there.
Definitely trying.
Yeah.
I'll give them credit. 100% they're trying. But in terms of like relating it back to setting goals, when I first started, you come in and you're so eager and you're like, I want this many followers and I want this many viewers a day but you don't control any of that. And I circle back to, you get the negative mindset when you have one day, let's say for example, 10 viewers is your goal, and you hit it, and then one day you've got 13 viewers, and you're like, this is great. You hit 20 viewers and your mind is exploding, like, this is better than I ever could. Then for the next week you have 8 viewers, and you're depressed. You don't, like, to not to use that word lightly, but you're down. Maybe you're feeling anxious. You're questioning whether or not what am I doing differently?
Right. Yeah.
But maybe the people who watched you last week are back at school, or maybe their sleep schedule's fixed. And maybe you've got to remember that when you first started, you would have absolutely pissed yourself if someone told you that 8 people were going to be sitting and watching every single word you had to say. But relative, you're like, oh, but I've had 20.
Yeah.
So that's why I think one of the worst things people can ever do, and I'm no expert, God knows I'm no expert, but is don't set yourself a goal ever if I want to hit 20 viewers, because I can promise you, as someone, and I've been very, very super fortunate in terms of, like, I've made some very good friends who are much larger streamers than I am, so they will bring in raids and stuff like that, and I've had massive, like, mind-bending numbers, not through any talent of my own whatsoever. It's all been through love from other streamers. But yeah, like, you can't contemplate sitting there to, let's say, 500 people,
right,
and then go, this is what I want, this is what I need to be happy. Because I promise you, when you hit 500 people, that's not going to be enough. You're going to want 700 now, and then Kyle's got 1,000 viewers. I want 1,000 viewers. So I know it's kind of a long-winded answer, but the best thing you can do, I think, is set goals that involve things that you can control. So like set goals. I'm going to make, let's use YouTube for an example. Now I'm going to make one YouTube video a week. Not I'm going to make a YouTube video and it's going to get 10,000 views. Because you're never going to hit that goal, because it's got, well, you might, but you're never going to do anything that gets you towards that goal. You're just going to sit there, and you might have created the best fucking video of all time, but if it doesn't hit 10,000 views, you've failed because you've set yourself up to fail.
Right. Yeah, I feel it. I mean, that's a very, very, I mean, it wasn't long-winded. I really appreciate you kind of going through your process. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because, you know, like, we kind of do the same thing where it's, you know, let's just keep staying proactive. Like, you know, I've probably listened to like 3 of our podcasts, but I have to re-listen to them anyways when I go to edit. So,
yeah,
I mean, that doesn't count towards our numbers. And then, so, you know, just staying proactive, you know, trying to get you like on the stream, things like, or on the podcast, things like that. Movies, reaching out, you know, just getting ourselves on other platforms. Like he said, Pocket Cast. I've never heard of a Pocket Cast before, but apparently it's an app. And now it's one of our biggest things that, you know, we get downloads from. So just things that, you, like you said, we can, like, you know, you can control, we can control. Anyone trying to start out, things like that, not getting discouraged. So very good answer.
I think too,
go ahead.
I think the other thing too is, you know, just liking your content. Like, I mean,
yeah, if you're happy with what you're doing, it doesn't really matter.
No, I generally enjoy just doing this, and then I'll get texts from a couple of friends who are like, "Yo, I listened to it. That was really good. It was fun." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man. Like it means a lot." But it's like I honestly I didn't need that, because I had fun doing it. But it's like it means even more the fact that I do enjoy it, and honestly I have no expectations with this. I just love it. I think it's a great way for me and Kyle to like get our conversations out there, which I always thought were good anyway. Like the different topics we hit are so many, and you know, just having fun with a conversation and then having people tell us, yeah, I enjoyed it. It's like, oh man, thanks. It's that instant gratification of, yeah, this is cool.
That's the one thing that doesn't show up. It won't show up to people watching, listening to this on the audio, but like the smile on your face is from ear to ear. Seriously, when you're talking about, and Kyle too at the moment, when you're talking about what you do, and you can see, and I mean, they'll hear it in your voice when you say that, the genuine excitement and passion that you've got for what you do comes from the creative space and wanting to make something. And I think a lot of that gets eroded away and chipped away when you then start to go, I want to make this and get 50,000 views on it.
Right.
Because that 50,000 views doesn't come, and potentially, and then it diminishes what made you smile to start with. And I think if you can refocus and kind of, everyone needs to do it. God knows, I've like I said, I've got some very, very good friends who are significantly better and much larger than me and much larger than I will ever be. And they have the exact same concerns, just on a larger scale, numbers wise, than I do. So if I'm qualified to give any advice whatsoever, whether it's a podcast or a stream or a YouTube video, is genuinely remind yourself regularly why you do it, and then I think you'll find you're in a much better place to continue doing it.
Yeah, and I'll admittedly say I go to a therapist. Like, it just feels good. It's like going to it's like taking a hot shower after the gym, or being outside all day sweating, just coming inside and rinsing off. It's kind of like that. And she got me hip to this woman that does a TED Talk, because I kind of told her about how, you know, I just lack passion at work, things like that. And the woman said, you know, your passion doesn't have to be one thing. And I think people get discouraged by that also, where, you know, someone will sit down and say, like, all right, I'm going to start streaming, and that's what I'm going to do. And I like playing video games, and it's going to be great. Maybe you start doing it and you're not having as much fun as you thought you were going to have. But passion doesn't have to be one thing. Like I've said before, you know, that this started as kind of just me doing a blog for anxiety and depression. And then now it's turned into something like this. And that's kind of it. I mean, if you're not having fun doing what you're doing, you know, you don't have to keep doing it just because you feel the pressure of, oh, I got to be good at this thing now because it's the last thing that'll ever exist. So
The old saying, like, nobody likes a quitter. Like, don't quit. Well, you know what? If people are addicted to drugs, quitting is a really good thing.
Yeah, that's facts. That's a good answer.
If you're in a marriage and your partner is domestically violent or emotionally violent, quitting that marriage is a fucking great idea.
Yeah, it's super healthy.
So sometimes the same thing creatively. Like, you might have an idea, and not all ideas pan out. You get a week in, a month in, a year in, and go, this isn't giving me what I need. Then do something else. You're 100% right.
Something I wanted to ask you though. I saw it during your birthday stream, and I loved it. And I was just wondering if we could maybe get one out of you, a subpar short story.
Oh, subpar short story. Yes. So they started, the subpar short stories were, back in the day, they used to be subpar, and this is going to sound, I just realized as soon as I started saying it, people are going to go, this wanker. They started, how am I going to protect myself here so I don't sound like an idiot? They started whenever I got a sub on YouTube. They used to be subpar sub stories.
Yes.
And whenever I got a sub, sorry, not on YouTube, on Twitch. Whenever I got a sub, I would do a story for that person who had subbed, and I would tell the completely 110% legitimate story that is not at all made up about how we first met and how we became best friends. Mm-hmm. So it was all just like giving. When people give me the sub, they get the emotes, but I want to give them a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, Twitch introduced this thing called gifting, like gift subs.
Right.
And it got to the point where, and it's not just for me, this is where it's like, oh, you wanker. It got to the point where some people would, okay, I'm going to give 10 subs. And then it's like, I can't, like if I do 10 stories now, it's going to be the entire stream. Right, and I'm not going to sit there and make any things. So, yeah, so it ended up becoming, like, when I do anything that's involving, like, some tips or whatever, if it's a certain threshold, I'll do a subpar short story. But, yeah, that's the thought process behind them. They're 100% legit. They're never made up. They're all very real about how I met every single one of my friends online and how we became best friends. I don't know if I've got the book.
Oh, you have, like, a whole bunch of just different things.
No, so... This is, audio listeners are not going to enjoy this at all, but that's all right, because the boys are going to start doing some video stuff soon. You're going to love it. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to anywhere where you get your podcasts. So
a Rainbow Six book.
I've got a Rainbow Six notebook here in my hand, and this is actually what I use. But I originally had someone in chat yelled at me the other day on that birthday stream, because I used to have a journal, like a legitimate from the news agency. And it used to have gold pages, like gold leaf pages.
Yeah. And
when we do it on the stream, like a book comes up. It's hard to explain in audio, but I do like a stinger, like a little introduction. And it's a very fancy, it's an overlay on the stream. It's a very fancy room in a southern estate. And a big book opens and it's all very dramatic. And I used to have the book. And I actually thought that I wasn't going to be doing sub stories anymore. So I threw the book out. And then... And then someone was like, oh, you should do it for your birthday stream, do some short stories. And I went, yeah, that sounds good. And then I started to do it, and they were like, where's the book? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I threw out the book. So now I just use a notepad. But
There's always that one.
You want a subpar short story?
Yeah, just the exact way, the definite legitimate way that you met the two of us, not through LFP or anything like that.
Okay, so what I usually do is I usually say on stream, like, give me a scenario. It could be anything, like some people have said, for example, that day we were at Disneyland. Tell everyone about the day we were at Disneyland or something like that.
Do you have one?
The day... I'm just going to say the day Kyle punched the exploding Thrall.
Oh, wow. That's real life, though. I was very angry that day.
What about...
I think that's too grounded in reality. I was pissed off at Kyle that day.
What about a bank heist?
A bank heist? Okay, yeah. So again, for audio people, I'm holding the book in my hands and I look very professional, but that's not going to mean anything for you. So, hey guys, have I ever told you the story of how Kyle and Brian and I first met? No? Then sit back, relax, and enjoy this subpar short story. It was a cold and frosty day. So obviously, for those, again, who can't see it, I'm reading from a book that is completely empty. So it's all just I'm just all for show.
Straight improv.
It was a cold and frosty day when I decided that I needed some money. I looked around my kitchen and realized that not a skerrick of food was in the house. I'd even eaten the plastic that the bread came wrapped in. I decided that after my plastic had passed and I was once again hungry, that I had to do something. So I got on my push bike because I had sold my car for the bread that came in the plastic and decided to drive into town. I walked around and I saw two lowly figures walking around with their hoodies pulled up looking suspicious. Naturally, I wanted to be their friend. "Excuse me, you two. What are you doing over there looking all suspicious with your hoodies and whatnot?" Both of them turned around and looked at me aggressively, shaking their fists like an old man shaking their fist at a cloud. We're here to just earn some money. Piss off. It's none of your business." The one with the biggest beard responded. "Well, I would like some money," I said. The one with the slightly shorter beard said, "Well, what are you prepared to do for it?" "Just about anything," I said. "I've just finished eating a bag of plastic because I'm desperately poor and I need some help." Fast forward along the story, and before I knew it, I'm wearing a red jumpsuit and a mask of Richard Nixon, standing in the foyer of my local bank. The shorter beard one had handed me a shotgun that wasn't actually a shotgun, it was just a toy, but they weren't to know. We walked up to the teller, whose name was Beth. She seemed nice. I pointed the plastic gun at Beth and said, "Excuse me, Beth. Listen, I'm in a real hard way. These two people behind me they've conned me into this. If you can just give us $15 so we can go and get a meat pie each, that would be great." Beth looked at me and nodded. She said, "I can smell the plastic on your breath. I know the times are tough." Beth handed over $15 US, which converts to around about 4.3 million Australian, and I took my new friends, shotgun and all, to get a meat pie. And that was the day that we all became best friends.
Bravo, so good.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah, it was a good day.
It was.
Ironically, Beth then went on to rob her own bank. We could have got a lot more than we asked for.
She took out a lot more than $15.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh.
Well, we got some. I kind of made a little bit for you. It's called Subparlovers Subpar Answers.
Oh, okay.
You got the questions, right, Brian?
Yeah, I got them.
Why don't you go ahead and hit them with a few of them? They're just silly, goofy scenarios. Some of them.
Do I have to deliberately give shit answers?
No, you can give honest answers. It's more fun to give.
Okay.
It's more fun to give honest answers. I think. I always try and spin it that way.
So they're subpar questions.
Yeah, so they're mostly subpar questions. You can give above par answers.
Okay, I'll give on par. That's all I can promise.
That's fair.
All right. So if you had to choose one to follow you around to the day you die, who would it be? Claptrap or the Ghost from Destiny? And we're talking Dinklebot.
Oh, you know what? It would have to be Claptrap. I love Dinklebot. Dinklebot, people hated him, but I think it would be Claptrap purely because he's not as annoying as some people think he is. I actually love Claptrap, but also he's really pathetic. And whenever you're having a really bad day, you'd be like, "At least I'm not Claptrap," and that would keep me going.
All right. Kyle, you got the next one?
No, you can go ahead and do all of them.
All right.
Unless
if
you
you
want
take
me to.
one gun from Destiny and put it into Borderlands, what are you taking? And same way, vice versa. If you can take one from Borderlands to Destiny, what are you taking?
Okay, so the meme would be to say the Red Death.
Yeah.
I'll take the Red Death. It's actually funny now that I think about it. I've never made this comparison before. I really loved Fatebringer in Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Great gun. And now I'm thinking about it, my favorite guns in Borderlands are actually pistols that are manufactured by Jacobs because they're like old West, Wild West kind of like fast firing pistols. And they're very similar, those two guns. So I would probably take Fatebringer and put that into Borderlands. And I would probably take... Actually, there's an SMG in Borderlands 3 called the Cutsman, which fires like it's hard to explain, but it's a great gun, and I think it's got a bit of a sci-fi vibe, and it would fit in nicely with Destiny. So the Cutsman into Destiny, and the Fatebringer into Borderlands 3. Unfortunately, the Red Death and the Galahorn, they have to stay where they are for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it. Okay. If you were placed into a video game and you only had 3 lives, what game are you picking, and who's your co-op partner?
The easiest game ever made because I'd be dead in 2 seconds. And my co-op partner would be the person I liked least in the world because I wouldn't have to spend that much time with them.
You don't gotta
let's
call
just
him
say
out.
I'm really
Yeah.
happy that respawning in Borderlands 3 exists because if this was Super Mario on the original Nintendo, I'd be fucked.
Right. Back to start in 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite beer?
Oh, I get asked this on stream a lot because I do drink a bit on stream because I'm Australian and that's okay. So although that being said, Gathalion's got a bar in his house, so I mean I'm not that far gone yet. I reckon I like Heineken's an easy one to fall back on. I like Heineken. As controversial as it might sound, and it might get your podcast demonetized. I love Corona. I think Corona's actually really nice.
Yeah.
And
Not bad.
there's actually an Australian beer called Furphy that's really, really good. If you can find it over there, I recommend it. If you like the heavier type of winter beers.
You see that beard?
What's that?
What'd you say?
So look at that beard that guy's got. He's all about those dark beers.
Oh, 100%.
Because if you spill it, you're all good.
Yeah.
It's not quite like a it's not quite a Guinness.
Order? Okay.
Yeah, not at all. No, it's not. It's just like I don't know. If for example, a Corona's like a fresher, crisper beer, it's kind of like in the middle between the two. Yeah.
Would you rather have the feel of never having wiped enough or hair in the back of your throat forever?
Oh, well, you know what? The way that we're living in the world at the moment, there might not be enough toilet paper to wipe enough anyway. So I might be feeling that sooner rather than later. No, the hair in the throat would be super annoying. So I suppose I'd go wipeless if I have to choose that fate because it might be about a week away anyway. I think I've only got about 4 rolls left. I'll have to check. So I think I'll get back to you and I'll let you know what it feels like.
All right. What's your favorite hobby that isn't video games?
Oh, that's a good one. I think it's like nothing anymore. No, I do have a better answer. I do have an answer than that. A better answer than that. Back in the day, I mean, I still like watching YouTube videos and that, but that's not a hobby. I think back in the day, I really enjoyed writing. I think I've gotten away from that a little bit, and that's why the YouTube videos are going to be a lot of fun now because I've started to sit and script things a bit more.
Okay.
Everything on Twitch is always improvised and it's fun, but you don't get that creative second to think. Do you know what I mean? You don't get that beat in your mind where that joke comes together or whatever. And I find that writing, I really enjoy writing. It's been a long time since I've done it. So, yeah, but definitely that.
I like that one. What's your most recently watched show?
I'm watching Ozark on Netflix right now with Jason Bateman in it.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm only about 5 episodes in. And I love Jason Bateman. So I look like a massive Arrested Development fan. And anything that Jason Bateman does is incredible. And it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it so far. There's, I think, what was the other one? Sex Education is another one that's pretty good at the moment, also on Netflix.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy that. But, I mean, there's massive ones like The Witcher. Everyone, obviously, being on Twitch is like, what do you think of The Witcher on Netflix? I'm like, I haven't watched it yet, mate. I'm here live. When do you expect me to watch things? But when I do get time, it's mostly Netflix. But I reckon Ozark is the most recent thing that I've watched.
If you like that sex education, check out 100 People. Or 100 Humans. 100 Humans. It's
I've
like
seen
a social
that. It's
experiment.
been recommended for me by the algorithm.
Yeah, it's
see Twitch. That's how you get recognized. An algorithm recommends things. Netflix can do it.
If you don't trust me, trust your algorithm.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, here's one. Who catches the golden snitch in Harry Potter? Who catches it in Quidditch faster? Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel from Fast and the Furious, or Victor Crumb from, Harry Potter 4.
I'm not a big Harry Potter person. Like, I love Harry Potter. I got through the first 3 books and then, went to have sex. So I stopped living that life.
You're one book
listen,
short.
I honestly don't know who most of those people are. I'm not going to lie, but I can tell you for sure that it's not going to be Vin Diesel, because without a car, that guy's not going anywhere. Like, he I can tell, does a lot of push-ups, a lot of pull-ups, and eats a lot of protein. He's built to lift things. He's not built to go fast if he's outside of a car. That's my theory. Sorry, Vin, if you're listening. Please don't crush me with your eyebrows, you tough motherfucker. Does he have eyebrows? Do bald people have eyebrows?
He doesn't have hair.
I mean, I think so.
They're probably thin.
I don't know if it's an alopecia type issue. I don't know if I should feel bad now.
No, they're thin. He's had them done. He paid for it. Well,
sorry, Vin. I know you love this podcast. It's like Vin Diesel's come home today, guys, and he's like, I've had a shit day. I'm going to put the boys on. And now he's like attacked. He's like, what have I... This was my pocket of space. You were talking about it earlier. This was my escapism.
It's funny you say that because we talk about him at least once a podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why it's his favorite podcast.
Yeah, he's starting to turn into like a meme. We've turned him into some kind of crazy monster that's unstoppable.
You might as well put him in the thumbnail. In all the videos.
Just add him every time.
Another one of me. These are my favorite videos, these ones.
Well, he's defeated Thanos in our other podcast, so he's doing something right.
Case, that's the highest benchmark you can set. I know who Thanos is.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Where can our listeners find you if they're looking for you, whether it's on Twitter, Twitch, or, you got the YouTube going now?
I said today in chat that I'm Subparlover everywhere, including the bedroom. So you can find Subparlover pretty much anywhere. Apparently no one wanted to claim that name. I don't know why nobody wanted to walk around telling everyone they're bad at sex. But twitch.tv/Subparlover is where you'll find me 4 days a week. I do different time slots. They do change a bit, but I try and do 2 a week that are in an Australian-friendly time zone and 2 a week that are US-friendly. If you go to twitch.tv/Subparlover, below the video player, there's like a little countdown and it'll convert into your local time zone. And yeah, just Subparlover on the socials, mostly on Twitter @Subparlover, and youtube.com/Subparlover is where all of my pre-recorded content will go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being our first proper guest. My brother doesn't count.
Thank you. It's been so much fun, guys. It feels like an eternity ago since we were raiding in Destiny, but I'm so happy to see you guys doing something that you are both grinning like idiots because you're having so much fun, and it just makes me really happy to see my friends are doing something that they're passionate about. So keep it up, and I look forward to looking back and sitting down and having a drink with Vin one day and going, see, this podcast turned out pretty well.
Well, I mean, likewise. I mean, your streams are a lot of fun to watch. If people haven't watched them, please do. It's a lot of good fun, honestly. Go past those top 4 people in the League of Legends directory, please. And
scroll down. Do a little bit of scrolling. I'm not 45 deep in Borderlands, but sometimes you've got to give that mouse a tiny little flick. Give the ball a spin.
Or do a little extra work and just type in your name.
Yeah, you've got twitch.tv/Subparlover. If you can't figure that out, how have you found this podcast, honestly?
That's a very good point.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you also. So that's us. Remember to love each other, love yourselves, and stay adventurous.
And we out.
Amazing.
That was beautiful.